Hi everybody, this is Crystal. So today I'm going to show you how to make this hat and a matching cowl. This is it has the wrap already in it, twisted cowl here. Of course you can make them bigger, but I did make them each with one cake of this yarn, so I didn't make it any bigger because I didn't want to have to open a new cake. But I think it looks pretty good the way that it is. I like it, but I like free yarn. You guys want to go ahead and do it? It's super simple. If you know how to do single crochet, you'll be able to do this. Let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so here's my cowl. Like I said, it has the twist in it. It's twisted, already twisted up there for you. So that's what it kind of looks like. Of course, you can always make it bigger. I'll give you kind of a measurement if I can. It's about 15 inches. And then long, counting the fur, it's about 5. Hat is about 7, what did I say it was earlier? Seven and a half long, almost 8, I guess, if you count the fur, but probably pretty close to 7.5. And it should fit about 21, 22. And Chad, I will go over in the video that it does get a little wider at the bottom because we put the fur trim on it, which makes it makes it a little bit. I mean, the hat might seem small at first, but it'll be wider at the bottom. So, all right. So for this project, I used Lion Brand Go for Faux Duo. So it's got the fur in the middle, and it's got the acrylic on the outside. There are 73 yards per hat. Now this is this is a jumbo number 7. This is a super bulky 6. One cake made a hat, and I had some fur left and a little bit of yarn. One cake made the cowl, and I had a little bit left of each of those also. So it took 2 cakes to make one cake for each piece. So I thought that was pretty good. And then I'm going to be using a size in, which is a 9mm, and some ends are 10mm. Either will work just fine. Now to start the project, you want to pull. I used the acrylic first on both pieces. So what I did was grab the fur and it pulled it out, and it comes out in a clump, like a clump. And then you can use the acrylic first and then go back to the fur, or you can pull the acrylic from the outside. It's whatever you want to do, but we do use the acrylic first. All right, we're going to start with the hat first, and it's going to be top down. So we're going to start off at the top, and we're going to work with our acrylic part of the yarn. Slip knot. Chain of 3. 1, 2, 3. Go back into that very first stitch and slip stitch, and that way we form a ring. A little hint here how I always keep my ring open as I put my middle finger in between there like that before I slip stitch. Then I slip stitch like this, and I pull my tail a little tight, and that will make a bigger then I pull my finger out, and then you have a bigger hole there because your finger stretched it open a little bit. So that always helps. And I kind of try to keep my nail, if you have any fingernails, in there to hold it open while I go around. But anyways, I'm going to chain 1. Now that chain 1 does not count as a stitch. So what we're going to do is we're going to work 6 single crochets through the center of the ring. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and there's 6. Now what we're going to do is you're going to need a stitch marker. Okay, I always use a scrap piece of yarn for a stitch marker. Now this is what we're going to be working continual rounds, which means that we will not be ending our round in slip stitches. We're just going to continue around and around and around. Therefore, there will be no visible seam at the end when you finish your hat. That's always good. Okay, so remember, we're not going to count that chain 1, but it's always good when you're working single crochet at the top of the hat to count backwards 6 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is the one we need to go into, because sometimes these chain ones and stuff look a little bit like stitches, but they're not. So we're going to be working in the back loop only of the stitch. So you can see the stitch has 2 loops, this one and this one. The one closest to us is called the front loop, and the one furthest away is the back loop. We're only going to go into that back loop only, and we're going to do this for the entire hat. And we are going to work 2 single crochets in the back loop only of that stitch. And then we're going to move to our next stitch right here, and we're going to do the same. 2 single crochets in that back loop only. Oops, I didn't get the whole loop. Okay, 2 single crochets into the back loop only of that stitch. And we're going to repeat this pattern all the way around until we get back to our stitch marker. 2 single crochets in the back loop only of the next stitch. I'm just going to go ahead and work 2 single crochets every stitch, back loop only, until I get back to my stitch marker. Alright, so I have made it back to my stitch marker. You can see right here. And you should, at the end of round 2, you should have a total of 12 stitches. So I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So I'm going to go ahead and move my stitch marker up, and we're going to start round 3. Now, we're always working in the back loops until we get down to the fur area. So back loop only from now on. So we're going to go ahead and start round 3 by coming over here to the next single crochet, and we're going to work 1 single crochet in the back loop only of that stitch. Just one. In this next stitch, we're going to put 2 single crochets, back loop only. And that will be the repeat for round 3. 1 single crochet, back loop only in the next stitch, and then 2 single crochets, back loop only into the next. So I'm going to repeat that pattern all the way around. 1 single crochet back loop, 2 single crochet back loop, 1 single back loop, 2 single back loop, all the way until I get back to my stitch marker. Alright, I have come to my stitch marker at the end of round 3. Now your last stitch should have 2 single crochets in it, and you should have a total of 18 stitches now. So we're going to go ahead and move our marker up, and we're going to begin round 4. Try not to tangle like I've been doing here. I don't know what's going on. Okay, I got it. Okay, so now we're going to jump to our next 2 stitches, and we're going to put 1 single crochet in each of the next 2 stitches, back loop only. So there's 1, and then we are going to put 1 in the next. I don't know why that yarn's splitting on me. And then in the next stitch, we're going to put 2 in the back loop only. And that'll be our repeat for round 4 now. 1 single crochet, back loop only in the next 2 stitches. So there's 1, and there's 2, and in the next stitch we're going to put 2 single crochets, back loop only into the same stitch. And we're going to repeat this pattern all the way around for round 4 until we get to our stitch marker. So it's 1 single, 1 single, 2 singles, 1 single, 1 single, 2 singles, all into the back loops, back to our marker. Alright, I've come to the end of round 4. Now you should have a total of 24 stitches, and you should have ended with 2 double crochets there into your last stitch. So let's go ahead and move that marker up. Now we're going to start round 5, and now we're going to put 1 single crochet into the first 3 stitches, back loop only. So there's 1, 2, and 3, and then 2 single crochets into the next, back loop only. And that is a repeat for round 5. 1 single crochet into the next 3, back loop only, 1, 2, 3, and then 2 single crochets into the next, back loop only. And I'm going to repeat this pattern all the way around until I get back to my stitch marker. All right, I have made it to the end of round 5, 30 stitches. You should have ended with a 2 single crochets there in your last stitch. Move your marker up and we will begin round 6. Now it's going to be 1 single crochet, back loop only, into the next 4 stitches. So there's 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then 2 single crochets into the next, back loop only, 1, 2, and then we're going to repeat that. 1 single crochet into the next 4, back loop only. That was 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then 2 single crochets, back loop only, into the next. Going to repeat this pattern all the way around until I get back to my stitch marker. All right, I've made it to the end of round 6, 36 stitches now. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and move our marker up. Should have ended with 2 single crochets into our last stitch. Now we're going to start round 7. So round 7, I bet you can guess what's going to come next. 1 single crochet into the next 5 stitches, back loop only. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, and there's 5, and then 2 single crochets, back loop only, into the next. And that's the repeat for round 7. 1 single crochet into the next 5, back loop only, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 2 single crochets into the next, back loop only. And this is a pattern I'm going to repeat all the way around until I get to the end of round 7, back to my stitch marker. All right, so I've made it to the end of round 7, and you should have 42 stitches there. Okay, so, and you should have ended with 2 single crochets in your last stitch. So what I'm going to do now is take a quick measurement. This is going to be the crown of our hat. So this is the part that we've been increasing, and once we get it as big as we want it to be, we will stop increasing, and then once we stop increasing, the hat will start to form its shape. So let's take a quick measurement. And my measure 6.5 inches. That's about what you want. Usually I go in between 6 and 7 inches. Usually I try to get it right at 6.5 if I can, for an adult size, ranging from 21 to 22 inches, something like that. Okay, so I'm done increasing. So now it's going to be easy from now on. So we're gonna, because you're gonna keep your stitch marker. So round 8, we're gonna start. Pull it up. Now we're just going to be working 1 single crochet in every stitch. You'll have 42 stitches all the way around on every round. We're working in the back loops only still, but we're not doing any stitches that have 2 single crochets in the same stitch. From now on, it's just 1 single crochet in every stitch. So I'm going to continue around. See, I'm working 1 single crochet in every stitch, back loop only. I'm not doing any increasing at all. So I'm going to continue this until I get to my stitch marker. I've made it to the end of round 8, and I have 42 stitches still. And 42 is our magic number. That's what we're going to have on every round now. So I'm going to go ahead and move my marker up, and I'm going to start round 9. Now we're just going to repeat what we just did on round 8. 1 single crochet in every stitch on the back loop only. You'll always have 42 stitches at the end of every round. Now I'm going to repeat round 8 for a few more rounds. I'm not quite sure until I get the hat down a little bit further before I put the fur trim on. So I'm going to continue with the rounds of 1 single crochet in every stitch, working in the back loop only. 42 at the end of every round. I'm on round 9 right now. I'll let you know how many total rows I do in just 1 second. Alright, so I did 15 rounds on my hat. That's starting from the very first round. Let me give you a measure. Remember, I'm going to put some fur on the bottom, but right now, you can do less, you can do more. It's completely up to you. Whatever you choose. Right now, it's about 6.5 inches. It is kind of a firm-fitting hat, so let's go ahead now. I think I did 15. Let me count one more time. Yeah, 15. Okay, so what we're going to do now is keep the stitch marker, but we're going to switch yarns over. So, what I'm going to do is I am going to use the bigger hook for the fur. So I'm going to whip out my 19mm hook. You know what? I'm not going to do that. I'm going to keep the 9mm. I'm going to be an oddball. Okay, so I'm sorry for the confusion here. Okay, forget about that 19mm. It's not even going to happen. We are just going to be using the 9mm. Now what I'm going to do is switch up to the fur, but I'm going to keep my stitch marker. Now the fur is not going to be easy to see your stitches, but you got to do your best to keep your count of 42 so your hat doesn't get smaller. But now we're going to be working through both loops. So no more going through one loop. Now it's both loops. But what we're going to do is go through like this, and we're going to switch yarns over. I'm going to pull up like that, and I'm going to switch my yarns, and I'm going to pull through my fur like that. Now, I know you're not supposed to make knots in your crochet, but oh well. I just make a little knot there, and then I can sew it in later. And I'm going to clip this off the acrylic here. I'm going to leave a tail so I can sew it in later. I always have the dullest scissors in the world. Or I'm just going to sew it in. Actually, I'm just going to hide it as I go. Now I'm going to be working a single crochet of fur all the way around my hat. I'm going through both loops though, and I'm hiding that tail as I go. Remember, it's going to be hard to see your stitches, especially when you get around to that second row of fur. If you decide to put a second row on, actually, that's up to you. You can do what you want. I always say that you're crocheting it. You do what you like. So I'm going to continue around. This is round 16. Still, we're going to have 42 stitches. And we need to maintain that 42 stitches. And you see that I'm going through both loops now. No more one loop stuff. That's over with. That is done. That is over with. We're just going through both loops. And I'm going to do this all the way around until I get back to my stitch marker. Okay, made it back to my stitch marker. Well, I just took out a stitch. And remember, it's very important that you maintain that 42 stitch count. It's going to appear that your hat has widened at the bottom, which it has because we're using a thicker yarn. That's fine. So what we're going to do is we're going to move the stitch marker up. I'm going to go around one more time. I think I have enough stuff to go around one more time. Now this is the part where you got to feel your stitches of where they need to go and keep count. So there's 1, and you got to feel, because you got to get to 42 or it's not going to work out for you. Your hat will probably end up too small. Or get close to the 42 if you can, within a few stitches or so. I shouldn't say that it has to be exact, because it doesn't have to be exact. Just do your best. Just do your best. If it's not 42, who cares? It's still going to work. But just feel where your single crochets need to go. It's actually probably better to have, if you can't feel your stitches, it would be better to have less stitches than more than 42 for sure, because the hat does widen. So, but I'm going to try to get my 42. If I don't, if I end up with 35 or whatever, whatever's whatever, it will work anyways, because we're not picky. You can't count, ain't no one going to count these fur stitches, I promise you that. They wouldn't be able to see them if they tried. I can't even see them, and I'm crocheting them. I'm just going by feel, So I'm going to work this all the way around. And like I said, if you don't have the 42, don't worry about it. We'll make do with what we have at the end. As long as it fits on your head. That's all that really matters in the end. So I'm going to keep going one single crochet in every stitch, just trying to feel my way around with my fingers or where the next stitch is. This will be my last round, and then I'll see you at the starting line. I made it back to my stitch marker, and I'm not going to count my stitches. I'm going to assume that I have somewhere in between 35 and 42 stitches, which would be just fine, because like I said, the hat does widen at the bottom, which makes the hat a little bit bigger in general. So let's see, there's my stitch marker. I'm going to go ahead and slip stitch into the next stitch like that, pull some yarn out and clip it so we can hide the tail. Now you can move that stitch marker, it's not needed right now. So what I do to hide the tail on the fur yarn is you can just weave it in and out of your stitches with a hook, because it will not, you won't be able to see it. So back and forth is what I do to hide fur yarn tails. Just do it a couple times, or a few times, so you know, feel like it's not going to come undone. Oops, I already went through that one. And then you hide any remaining tails, and then your hat will be finished. Now, like I said, it does widen at the bottom. It's actually kind of cool. I don't mind it widening at the bottom. I tried it on. Looks okay to me. I'm going to do one more, then I'll clip that off. Okay. Let's see, I'm going to clip that off with my doll scissors. And then I have to hide that tail. And I hid this tail as I went, so clip that off. Hide that tail. Okay, now as you can see, the hat, like I said, is wider at the bottom because of the thicker yarn. That's fine. Try it on. Tell me what you think. If you mind that widening at the bottom. I think it works well with the fur, actually. I have it on my head right now. I kind of like it. I do. I like fur yarns, though. Alright. So now we'll take a measurement with that fur. And it measures about 7 1/4 inches. It is, like I said, it will appear wider. Don't worry about that, because once you get it on your head, this fur is thick, so it's not going to really make any difference. But I mean, you see the picture of me. I think I look okay. I mean, it fits me okay, so, or fine. I don't know if I look okay in it, but if it fits me okay. Let's start that cowl. So again, I'm going to be starting with the outside of the kick. So I will pull my fur out and set it to the side. Use it at a later date. We're going to make a twisted cowl. So we're going to make it in the same stitch, so it's going to be relatively easy. We're going to start with a chain, slip knot on your hook. So we're going to start with a big long chain, and we're going to be slip stitching into the first stitch to form one big ring. So I started with a chain of 70, and when I slip stitch it together, that's how big my cowl is going to be. But it's going to have a twist in it, a twisted cowl. So we're going to go ahead and I chain 70. If you want to make it bigger or smaller, there's no certain amount of stitches. Any amount of stitches will work. There's no multiple. I'm going to follow it down without twisting my chain, and I'm going to slip stitch into the first stitch to form a ring. Like so. And now I am going to chain 1, go back into that same stitch and single crochet. Now I'm going to work around putting 1 single crochet in every stitch until I get back to my starting point. So 1 single crochet in every stitch of this big long chain, or big long ring here. Okay, so I've made it back around. Now we're going to do a, we're going to put a twist in our cowl, okay? So I got 70 stitches now. Now we're not going to slip stitch here. We're not going to put a stitch marker here. We're going to twist. We're going to put a twist in our cowl. So how we do that's very, very simple. What we do is we just flip our chain like that. And we're going to work on the bottom side of the chain. And we are just going to start in the first stitch here. 1 single crochet and 1 single crochet in every stitch around until you make it back to your starting point. All right, so I've made it to the end of round 2, and after I finished round 2 I had 70 stitches. Now you can see we have a twist in our piece. That's what we want. That's what I wanted. It was a twisted cowl. So now we're back at our starting point. So what we're going to do now is we're going to work in a single crochet in the back loop only. So we're going to jump to this first stitch, back loop only, and single crochet, just to get it to kind of match the hat a little bit. And we're going to work 1 single crochet in the back loop only. We're on round 3 now of the cowl, just like this, back loop only until we get back around to our starting point. So I've made it back around again. All I'm going to do is I'm going to continue doing rounds and rounds and rounds of 1 single crochet through the back loop only. I'm not even going to use a stitch marker, but if you want to use the stitch marker to keep your spot so you know where to end, you can. But I know that my ending spot is always going to be somewhere right around here, and it doesn't have to be perfect where I started, where my beginning chain is. So from now on, I'm not going to use a stitch marker, but I recommend if you have trouble keeping track to use a stitch marker. I'm just going to work round and around and around of 1 single crochet in the back loop only. I will continue rounds of 1 single crochet into the back loop only until I get my cowl as thick as I want it to be, and I will be putting some fur on both ends of it maybe. So I'll probably be using both kicks maybe for this particular cowl, but I'll go round and around and around, single crochet back loop only. It's pretty easy, and I'll let you know how many total rows I do. I will probably break into the second kick to make my cowl a little bit bigger, but you can make yours as big as you want. I'm not sure how many rows I'll do, but it is going to have that twist. Remember, see the twist in it? That's what we wanted. We want that twist. So you didn't do anything wrong if it's twisted. That's how it's supposed to be. So just continue. Round and around we go. 1 single crochet in the back loop. How many we do, nobody knows. I'll let you know in just a second how many total rows of this that I do. Okay, so you know what? I'm only going to use 1 cake of that for the cowl. Now you can use more if you want to make it thicker, but I'm going to add some fur on both sides, which will make it a little bit whiter. So if you look at the rows, you can see where it's twisted. This is how it twists. So some of the rows appear backwards and some of them do not. That's just the way that it is. But if you count the rows, I did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, but actually I just did it until I ran where I couldn't go anymore with that 1 cake of yarn, or 7 rows is what I did. So I ended up back at my starting point, or somewhere right around my starting point. Here's my very starting chain. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to add the fur and go around it with fur on the both sides. I'm going to go through one more in the back loop. Okay, so it's cool that I can get one hat and one cowl out, a cowl out of each ball. But if you want a thicker cowl, by all means, you can add another cake to this. But I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to be going through both loops now with the fur. So I'm going to go into the next loop, draw up, and then pull my fur through like that, just like we did before. And now I'm going to do my little knot, but I will untie it later and sew it in. Cut this, leave a tail so you can sew. Here we go, we're done with that. So what I'm going to do now with this fur, I'm not going to put, I was going to put one single crochet in every stitch, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to put, I started my yarn, single crocheted into the first stitch. I'm going to skip one and put a single crochet into the next. And then I'm going through both loops. I'm not doing the one loop anymore. Skip one and single crochet into the next. Skip one and single crochet in the next. And I'm going to do this all the way around my piece. Skip one, single into the next. Skip one, single into the next. And I'm going to do this until I get all the way back around to my starting point. Skip one, single into the next. Skip one, single into the next. So what you're doing is you're adding the fur, but you're going to be adding it all the way around. Like, since it's twisted, it's going to do both sides. So by the time you make it all the way around, you'll be back here and both edges will have fur on it, if that makes sense. That's just what happens with the twist. When you make a twist in your cowl, it's like going around it twice, I guess, but not really. You're just doing it all at once. But regardless, I'm going to be doing skipping one, single crocheting in the next, all the way around the whole piece. And when I make it back around, I'll be right here, but both sides will have fur. So I'll see you right back here at the starting point. I have made it back to my starting point, and I am going to end by slip stitching somewhere around here in one of my first fur stitches. Just do your best to kind of guess. If you want to go around again, you can, but you can use what's left over of your fur from the cowl cake that we use, and then we have a little bit left over from the hat cake. You can try to see if that's enough to make it go around again. I can't tell you for 100% certain if it will, but let's go ahead, and I'm only going to do it the once, so it's not extremely furry. Now I'm going to hide this tail by weaving it in and out. Now remember, this cowl does have a twist. It's meant to have a twist. It's the twisted cowl. Some have them, some don't. Anyways, once you get this where you think it's not going to come undone, and you hide all your other tails, I'll go ahead and do this once more here. The fur, can't tell what you're doing, so I'm always winging it with when it comes to the fur. Gosh, it's with my sharp scissors. Now, I'm going to take this, I'm going to give it a little stretch on both of the fur sides. Okay, I'll have to hide those tails, but now you can see the twist in the cowl. A lot of tails to hide, but there it is. There's the twist in it. That's what it's supposed to have, that twist. So both sides are furred. I like it. I think it turned out cool. Let me hide the rest of these tails real quick. All right, here it is. What you think? I like it. I think the cowl turned out super cool. I like to make twisted cowls. I don't do it all the time, but I think maybe I'll start doing it more often. I think the size is just about right for me. That's super cool. I like the way how it has the ribbing on the outside here, and then the ribbing on the inside here. That's nice. I like it. I like the hat too. What do you guys think? Too furry? Not enough furry? I like it. I think it looks pretty cool. So I hope you guys enjoyed my video. pretty quick, pretty easy. If you like fur hats and fur things. I do like it. I like it a lot. So I think it turned out well. Now I was able to do this, remember, with the cowl took 1 cake and the hat took 1 cake of the Go for Faux Duo. So thanks everybody for watching. Remember, don't forget to give this video a like, thumbs up if you enjoyed. And don't forget to check out my hundreds and hundreds of other tutorials that I have on YouTube and all my yarn content also. And everything else I do, giveaways and whatnot. But until next time, thanks everybody for watching and stay safe. Bye bye guys.